Okay, we're going to wrap up the morning with head coach Jed Fisch. Coach Fisch will open with a statement, and then we'll be taking questions.
Okay. Well, it's good to see everybody here, and I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your mornings to meet our coaches. It was really important for us at Arizona football to really make a statement that all of our coaches have their own message, and all of our coaches have wanted to make it personal. And for us, it was a matter of getting all of them in front of you to share their story, to let you know why they're here, and really how we were able to come together. And I feel extremely grateful as the head coach here to be able to put the staff that we did together. It was a process over time, and it was one that was really exciting to get done. And we've been able to manage to have all of our coaches here. A couple are just arriving via airplane, so should be here soon. But I hope that you guys got a lot of information from them. And then in turn, we'll make sure that they're available to you throughout the spring, as I will be to all of you, whoever has any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that's going on in our program. I'd love to share it, whether that be from these interviews or my Twitter.
Thank you, Coach. Our first question will go to Michael Lev, Arizona Daily Star.
Oh, hey, I get to go first. Cool. So it's pretty easy to see kind of the connective tissue with a lot of these coaches. You've worked with them in the past, or they played at Arizona, et cetera. Scotty Graham, maybe an outlier a little bit in that regard. How did that situation come about? How did you discover Scotty, and what does he bring to the table?
Yeah, so Scotty Graham was recommended to me by Brian Billick and by a couple of other coaches that I've worked with in the past. Chris Furster, Brian Billick, Bobby Turner are all coaches that coached at the 49ers or the formerly of the Vikings. And all of those guys coached Scotty Graham when he was with the Vikings in I guess it was the 90s at that time. And they all said to me, if there's one guy that you should really consider for a job, and he's in Arizona currently to coach your running backs, it would be Scotty Graham. It was all that, one thing that Brian Billick said, he goes, the best thing that Scotty Graham ever told me was, hey, coach, if you need 3 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. And if you need 4 yards, I'll get you 3 yards twice. So the one thing about Scotty is they said that he's extremely honest. He does an incredible job of talking with his players, discussing kind of life skills, mentorship program. Obviously has experience with the student athletes by being in administration from the school up north. There are guys that I talked to that are involved in the NFLPA that said Scotty's always been an incredible resource for them. And when you look at a guy like Scotty, you're talking about 4 years of college experience at Ohio State, then 6 years in the National Football League, 10 years as when you look at it, 10 years of a running back at the highest level, never put the ball on the ground, always efficient, did a great job of being a great leader of every team he's ever been a part of. So I was super excited to get his name and be able to connect with him.
Next question, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports.
You got me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, Dennis.
Jed, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I wanted to ask you about what you think the state of the Pac-12 is now. I mean, you've heard about all the negative things. Where it's headed. You've been around the league enough to answer that question, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I would say it's as competitive as it's ever been. It is a lot of teams that are very comparable in regards to skill sets, talent base, recruiting landscape. A lot of teams that are recruiting against one another in the same locale. So you have opportunity to have teammates from high school playing against one another now in the Pac-12. Obviously, I think you've got some really, really good coaches in the Pac-12, guys with a lot of different experiences, both from the professional level and the collegiate level, guys that have won a ton of games as head coaches at different spots. There's obviously guys that have just come back into the league, from Coach Durrell, who was Pac-12 head coach, call it 10 years ago, then in the NFL after that, and then back as a Pac-12 head coach at a different school. Chip Kelly, Pac-12 head coach at one school, back in the NFL, then back in the Pac-12 at a different school. And, you know, that goes on. And then there's obviously the guys like the David Shaws that have just been there, Kyle Whittinghams have just been there forever. So it's pretty cool. I think the coaches are tremendous in the Pac-12. It's a great fraternity to be a part of. Really excited about that opportunity. And then also we've got some great football out here, and excited to really start building it back up in terms of being able to compete at the highest of levels and get ourselves involved in the all of those championship opportunities that do exist. But right now it's a very competitive conference that hopefully will continue to grow and build.
Competitive doesn't equal 11-1 or 12-0. Is that what this league ultimately needs, just to get back in the playoff? You have a dominant program.
Yeah, well, I think when you get back in the playoffs, you have to be. If you want to get in the college football playoffs, you're going to have to be 12-0 or 11-1, and no matter what conference you're in. I mean, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. I mean, those teams are all in that one loss or no loss team, programming, and that's what you're going to have to be if you want to compete at that spot. But we also have to understand that there's levels to this, and we have to build our program up. And we're going to right now do everything we can to win the Pac-12 South. Once we win the Pac-12 South, then we'll figure out what goes on next. But we're going to take those gradual steps and try to then get ourselves to the full conference to be able to compete at that highest level.
Great. Good luck.
Thanks, Dennis.
Next question, David Kelly, KVOA.
Hey, Coach, welcome. Hey, you had a lot of wide receivers that were in the transfer portal when you arrived. What was your message to those guys, and what do you think they liked about that message that wanted them to return to the U of A?
Well, the biggest message I gave those guys was, why leave? What's the value of leaving? You've got coaches that are coming in that have a ton of experience coaching wide receivers. You've got coaches coming in that are coming in from the NFL, where all these guys want to be and want to go. We have really, when you look at our coaching staff, if there's one position that is probably the most flooded with experience, it would be the wide receiver room. Jimmy Doherty has coached wide receivers for over 15 years. I've coached wide receivers in the NFL with the Broncos, with the Ravens. I've coached at college at University of Michigan, always been involved in the passing game everywhere I've been. Brennan Carroll was a wide receiver coach at University of Miami. And then we hired a receiver coach in Kevin Cummings. So if you're a receiver, my opinion is this is a place you'd want to be. You know that you're going to have a ton of eyes on you. Our receiver coach in Kevin Cummings that we hired from San Jose State, I believe is an absolute all-star in the profession. So fired up that he's with us. Took San Jose State's offense, and they were fourth in passing in 2019, and was a teammate of Brandon Cooks, who's a former player of mine and one of my favorite players I've ever coached. And, I just think that that's kind of what we told them, and we didn't have to really sell them on that. I think we just had to tell them that, and they believed it and see it, and now they're all back, and it's pretty exciting for them all to be here.
And the indication that you've given us and that Jordan Papao has given us is that obviously the tight end is going to be a part of this passing game. I was just curious, where did your philosophy come from? Was that something that was based in your early college years? Was that something that you developed more once you got to working in the NFL?
Yeah, well, I've really never been a part of a program that wasn't tight end driven, or at least very tight end based. Really back in, even with Coach Spurrier, we always played with the tight end a lot. Very, very rarely were we in a 2 open formation out of 10 personnel. That was kind of mixed in, but not really the norm or the standard for us. And really every year since then, I've never been on an offense that we didn't play without a tight end, if not 2 tight ends. So whether that be at any NFL team or college team, we've been able to be a part of some really good programs with really good tight ends. And they're a critical part in helping you develop an offense. They're huge for pass protection. You never want to really throw, in my mind, when you throw 4 wide receivers and a running back out there, you've guaranteed yourselves that it's going to have to be a 5 or a 6-man protection. There's no chance of it being a 7-man protection. When you don't have a tight end in the running game, I think it really causes some mismatches and makes it challenging to be able to run the football without a tight end. So I'm not really a fan of that. And also the diversity it brings when you could get a bigger tight end that can stretch the field and challenge defenses down the middle of the field. it adds a dimension and a weapon that is pretty critical to the success of our program. And when you guys got guys like Rob Gronkowski, part of this program in the past, and I recognize from being a Patriot how important that guy is. We're going to have to do our best to find someone similar.
Next question, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. You've been able to bring in some transfers who played their prep ball here in the state kind of right off the bat. How do you think those additions will help you on the field, and how do you think that can also help jumpstart some relationships on the recruiting front within the state?
Yeah, I'm really excited about everybody that's entered our program or has returned to our program or that's in our program. And you know what I'm going to do is when signing day is over and I kind of get a great feel of what our roster is going to look like, we'll be able to address each and every guy we brought in and why we brought him in and what the value is for us and our team. In regards to the transfers that they're from Arizona, or a lot of them are, not all of them. I think it's an important part of this transfer portal is to recognize there's a lot of guys that leave the West Coast and go to other places and then recognize they'd really much prefer to be back at the West Coast. And our ultimate goal is to not let them leave. But as we also recognize, there are going to be some guys that are going to want to look elsewhere and see what it looks like and see what it feels like. But when they want to come back, we want to be able to welcome them back. And the portal has permitted us to do that. So we're going to continue to try to find the right guys that if they're at another school and they're in the portal and they're, from the West Coast, I believe we're going to have a great chance to get them here at the University of Arizona. And I believe we'll have a great chance to keep these guys in state before they even want to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, Rich Herrera, Wildcats Radio 1290.
Good morning, Coach. Getting a chance to meet all of your staff, your coaching staff. What was your selling point to these coaches when you were trying to find this, and I'm going to call it an eclectic group because there's so many young coaches, so many veteran coaches. And once you finally got them all in the same room, what was the message that you got to them when you immediately got your staff together?
Well, it was all about building personal relationships, and it's all about being personal, and that everything we're going to do, it's personal. And they recognize that. We've talked about that from the very beginning when we went through that interview process. And everybody has a different maybe interpretation of what it's personal is for them. But for me, it's the relationship that we have, and it's the culture we're going to build here. And it's going to be the culture of consistency is critical. I mentioned it the other day. And, we have to, what I've sold or told these coaches when we brought them in is our ultimate goal is to keep this coaching staff together and win together. And in our profession, which is the profession of guys that are professional movers, it's really nice to be able to feel like there's that ability to be, hey, let's plant our roots. Let's build our families together. Let our kids grow up together. And then some of our older coaches that kids have grown up, I told those guys, people work their whole lives to be able to retire in Arizona. I'm giving you a chance to work here and not even be retired and collect a nice paycheck. So we're going to try to do our very best to really give our message to our coaches. And then finally, what's cooler than building back a program? I mean, there's so many different opportunities out there in this profession, but these are jobs that don't come around every day. And when they do, there's a lot of people that are competing for them. So when we have an opportunity to be here and to do this together, I mean, we got a chance to do something extremely special, and we're just excited to all do it as a group. I think we're gonna go out there and have a good time and do it for a long time.
Some of the coaches talked about the importance of being able to have family around. Why is that important for the listeners and the viewers that heard that it's important to have your kids be able to come to be and spend time with at the facility?
Well, this is a profession which, if you allow it to, will gobble up every minute of your day and every minute of your night. And then the only time you really are heading home is for sleep. And if you can't open up your doors to be able to see your kids, sometimes you can't see your kids. And if you can't be able to get out of in the off season and be able to sneak away and, watch your kids participate in a sporting event, or, bring our whole coaching staff to watch someone's kids participate in a sporting event, then really, why are we all doing this? Why are we working this hard? Why are we making, good money? Why are we not able to enjoy it and ask our wives to move everywhere. So my feeling is this is an incredible opportunity to build a family atmosphere. It's an incredible opportunity to allow our children to really become part of Arizona Wildcat football. And our players will learn, how do you treat girls? How do you treat women? I mean, I've got a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, and it's amazing when I've had players around my kids, they are absolutely the sweetest guys you've ever seen. And hopefully that message is to them. That's how you treat your girlfriend too. And that's how you're going to treat your wife one day. And you start seeing it when you start seeing these little girls be treated with such respect that these guys understand that, understand the importance of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question will go back to Dennis Dodd.
Jed, you touched on it a little bit, but I don't have to tell you that there would have been a day when, the likes of Najee Harris or DJ Uiagalelei or Bryce Young would have stayed in the Pac-12. Again, what has to happen to keep those guys? Because I've never seen that many schools come west to get that many players.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great reflection of the quality of football we have out here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with the amount of teams that are trying to come out and recruit our players, and in the state of Arizona, in the state of California, I mean, they're everywhere. They're swarming out here, and coaches see it and coaches recognize it. And it's our responsibility to provide a similar or better opportunity for those players to come right here, stay in the Pac-12 or come to the University of Arizona. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. When guys like the Najee Harrises or some of the other players that you've just mentioned, right? I mean, I was at UCLA when DJ was coming out, and I understand what, the quality of players and the Bryce Youngs. A lot of those guys want to come out here too. And a lot of guys want to be a part of the Pac-12 teams. And maybe for one reason or another, they weren't recruited the same way, or they weren't convinced to come out. And, I would just say this. I would say we're going to do everything we can to keep the best players in state or the best players in the region at the University of Arizona. And if that means us, working as much as we need to, being out there as much as we need to, and coaching as hard as possible, if we can get that done, we'll have some really, really good football teams here at Arizona. And I think everybody on this call will be proud of them.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis.
Next question, Troy Hutchison, All Sports Tucson.
So, Coach, when talking about that coaching staff, was it a key point in getting guys from multiple experiences, whether that be Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Stanford, USC, not only NFL experience, but blue blood college football experience?
Yeah, it was huge for me. You gotta know how to win before you can teach players how to win. And you have to have been around winning programs and winning opportunities and winning cultures. And I would say that, one huge part of evaluating quarterbacks in the NFL when you're going through the draft is what's their win-loss record? Like, do these guys know how to win? When you're looking at a quarterback coming out, traditionally the guys that have won know how to win and win. And I would say that in the same regard, it's with coaches the same way. If you haven't been around programs that have won or know how to win or been around cultures of winning, it's very hard to just jump in and just try to start selling it. It's one thing to be able to say, hey, I've been on a down year, but I've been around a culture of winning. It's another thing to say, I've been around a culture of winning. I know what it takes. I know how to do this thing, and I know how to make it work. And when you could hire a strength coach that's won 5 national championships, who's 30 years old, he knows how it looks and what it's supposed to look like and what it's supposed to feel like and what is it going to take to get there. When you hire guys, that have been around some of the top programs in the country or top coaches in this profession, it's a critical aspect for me to be able to really get those guys on board and then be able to, not just sell it, but tell it, tell them what it looks like, and not just sell a dream, but be able to talk about a reality.
And then also looking at the coaching staff, I noticed recruiting coordinator hasn't been filled yet, or special teams coordinator. Is that going to be dealt with internally, or are you guys still looking to fill those roles?
Yeah, we'll have there'll be no coach that takes on the responsibility of recruiting coordinator. The university has provided me opportunities to bring in our own personnel department, and we're going to try to mimic and emulate a very similar NFL operation when it comes to that aspect of player personnel, recruiting, etc. In terms of special teams, that'll be a split responsibility. In our building, we'll have an offensive special teams coach, a defensive special teams coach, and those guys will also be responsible for a position. And that we're excited about that. Obviously, Coach Pow will be responsible for the offensive special teams. He mentioned that a little bit earlier, from what I understand. And our 10th assistant will be responsible for the defensive special teams, otherwise known as Robin in the Batman and Robin tweet. But he'll be responsible for the defensive special teams, and then our graduate assistants and our analysts will help those guys, as well as any of our position coaches.
Next question, Greg Hansen, Arizona Daily Star.
Jed, in the process of putting together a coaching staff, is it realistic to think that you hear from 100 guys or maybe more? And if so, how difficult was it to turn some of those guys down?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100 would be on the low side, I would say, in terms of people that are looking for jobs, or more importantly, close friends that are recommending people that they know that are looking for jobs. And what happens is you wind up getting into a horrible cycle of rejection. And it's not a fun feeling. It's not a fun conversation. Letting guys go or letting guys down, or not being able to provide an opportunity for people that you trust, you've been around. But everybody has a specific skill set, and the way it works is you can only hire one tight end coach or one offensive line coach. And when those things start occurring, there's some great relationships that you have to be completely honest with. And there's a lot of people that you trust in this business that are recommending certain people to you that really you want to help, or you want to provide an opportunity to, but you just can't at this particular moment. But there's been an incredible amount of interest in coming to coach at the University of Arizona and be a Pac-12 assistant coach. And we're thrilled to death with the people we were able to hire, and really excited about how this program is going to evolve and grow in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question, Cameron Cox, NBC 12 News.
Coach, hope everything is going well. Cameron Cox out here in Phoenix. Some high school coaches here have been kind of leaking out that you've reached out to them, and they're very thankful for that. It seems like you've kind of made the rounds all over the valley here. Why was that important to you when starting this program since you got here?
Well, it's our goal to be able to reach out to every single high school coach in the state of Arizona by phone in the next 48 hours. We're working through that right now, and we'll get that done. The big thing for us is that, it's very simple to send a letter. It's very simple to put out a graphic. It's very simple to, throw out a tweet. But if we're going to share our message of it being personal, then it's also very important to be able to personally contact each coach. Now, whether that be me or an assistant coach on our staff personally contacting them, it's our goal to reach out to as many as we humanly possibly can by phone, and then start opening up a weekly dialogue with our coaches over Zoom, and be able to invite every high school coach every Wednesday evening with a little talk from Tucson. And what we're going to do is reach every Arizona high school coach and make them see our commitment. And really, it's our goal and our job to help provide the best opportunity for the high school players in the state. And as the flagship university and the University of Arizona, we believe it's our responsibility to help every high school coach in the state execute their plan the best we possibly can help them.
Was that your idea, or was that something you knew right away you wanted to do when you got boots on the ground?
Yeah, it's a collective idea in our building that everything we want to do here is through a collective group effort. And we try to talk things through as a staff, and what do we believe is the best thing for our program, and really, what do we believe in, as people. And what we believe in personal relationships, and we believe in helping others. And what better way to help others and serve the high school coaches in the state than provide clinic opportunities, and also provide an opportunity to get to welcome them to what we're trying to get done here.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next question, Jacob Minuti, Daily Wildcat.
Hey, Coach. I mean, your Twitter game has been nothing short of amazing so far. I mean, you're always tweeting out something. I mean, how important is that to connect with the community on social media, and how does that kind of tie into, the motto of "It's personal"?
I mean, it's 2021, so social media is a huge aspect of our way to communicate, and it's a critical part of the messaging that we're trying to get across. And, I don't want to miss out on that opportunity by disregarding, the importance of Twitter or Instagram or any of the social media outlets. And, in my mind, it's a way for us to have some fun together. And, I don't need to call up a guy and break a news story. Might as well throw it out there and see who can figure it out. But, we try to do a great job in terms of asking our coaching staff to share messaging, as well as for me personally, I like to play around Twitter myself. So I do my own stuff. And then additionally, we've got some great people that work in our building. And when our graphics guys can put together some cool things, I'd love to share that for everybody to be able to see. But we want to connect with the community. We want to connect with the players in the community. We want to connect with the coaches in the community. And to do that, there's no better way or easier way in a broad-based fashion than to use social media.
And then one more question about the quarterback situation. I mean, what do you kind of make of the guys that you have on the roster now? And are you looking in the transfer portal to add maybe one or two more quarterbacks?
Well, we're looking for players at all positions. We'll continue to build off of our roster. We appreciate every player we have on our roster, and we'll evaluate them to the nth degree and try to find all of their best skill sets and utilize those skills at the highest level. And at the same token, the beautiful thing about the transfer portal right now is that guys want to come. And if guys want to come that are in the portal, we'll evaluate them and see if they can help our football team. And when it comes to recruiting, it's going to be our job to do the absolute best we possibly can to secure incredible amount of commitments in December, when the next early signing period is. And then we need to find or fill some holes here in this, let's say, or whatever amount of spots we have left to give initial scholarships out here in February.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our final question for Coach Fisch. We're going to Jason Shear, Wildcat Authority.
Hey, Coach. I asked Coach Brown the same thing. Do you
Jason, turn the lights off on you?
do you talk about the past few years? Do you ignore it, or how do you kind of approach the struggles previous to you arriving?
I think it's necessary to, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. So it's very important for us to understand what went wrong and take a good look at what went right, and look at the last couple of years or 2-3 years and see, how'd they get to 4-1, and then see what happened the second half of that season, to be able to look to see how they took USC down to the very wire the first game of the year, and then how what happened the last game of the year occurred. So we're going to look at it, and we're going to look to see who we have and, really the skill sets of each and every player. And then in turn, also, we're bringing brand new systems in, a brand new offense, a brand new defense, and a brand new special teams. So it's real challenging sometimes to just pick and choose plays and move guys in there to say, how would it look if we ran our play, or how would it look if we were doing this on defense? So we're really trying to look at athleticism. We're trying to look at their skills. But in terms of the overall, what was the final score of the game, we try to not spend too much time on that and really try to spend more time on the process.
And then you look around the country, and the better teams in the country, their front office, so to speak, they're huge. How much are you able to put into that front office, so to speak? Are you able to expand it? And whether or not that's the case, how important is it to what you're doing here?
Yeah, well, it's certainly it's a critical part to the success of college football in 2021 and beyond, is that the way these programs are being built and the amount of information that is available, you need to build more of an infrastructure of gathering information. So that player personnel department or front office, so to speak, is a huge part. And the university and Dave has given us resources to be able to increase that. We, as you'll see, we'll start posting more positions of guys that can help us in those roles. And there's, in terms about, and really it's not just scouting as much as it's a lot football alumni relations and recruiting and scouting players and on-campus recruiting and player personnel positions. And there's a lot of things that need to go on to really build this program back to where we all want it to be. So we're fortunate enough that Dave and Dr. Robbins has committed to allow us to do that.
That's all we have for today. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. I appreciate it.